And that's when I found you. And actually, I found you because you were interviewing a girl that had recovered fully. And I was like, I was like, could it really be that I can recover too? I mean, I started listening to her symptoms and I started listening the way you were describing these symptoms, and I was like, yeah, 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 that's it. Yeah, like that's how I feel. And so I was like feeling really pumped, and I was like, okay, well, maybe I can try this. And well, I reached out to you. I got to talk to you. And honestly, like that first conversation that I had with you, Jordan, that one first conversation I had with you, I just knew, like something in my heart, like just told me this man is going to help me. This man knows what he's talking about. If he had not gone through this himself, if he did not know what he was talking about, there's no way in hell he knows my every symptom. Like, there's no way that literally, like, nothing that was like, nothing that I have experienced, you were missing on your videos. Like, everything was there. Like, every single thing was there. Literally, after the first week, I started seeing major, major changes in my brain, like in my mind, in the way I thought, in the way I started thinking, and just a decrease on the symptoms.
All right. So I wanted to give some context for this interview. So basically, my client and I were on a call, and she started to just share this amazing story of transformation and all these things that she went through that are just unthinkable, that struggles. I mean, she literally ended up leaving the country. She ended up um, working with a psychiatrist at one of the top hospitals in the United States who wasn't able to help her, and just tried so many things before she finally found help with our program. And she's now starting to see results. She's now starting to get her life back. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, like, I'm so glad you told me that. She literally just booked a call with me just so she could tell her story. And I was like, can we go ahead and do this again in a couple days and record this? Because this is absolutely amazing and people are going to want to hear this. So, anyway, this is that conversation. She's so good at storytelling. She's even very funny. And enjoy it. Sit back, relax, get some water, get some decaf coffee, and make sure to watch this whole thing because it's just incredible, the end result. And also, if you'd like to work one-on-one with me in my Rise Unlimited program, the same one that she is in, click the link below, and I'd be more than happy to take a look at your situation and see if we can help. That is it. Let's get to this amazing story. All right, Jennifer, thank you so much for doing this. I am completely honored. I know you just got off work and you're tired, but thank you for doing this. It's going to encourage a lot of people.
Of course.
So, you and I had a session. I guess it's been maybe, was it like a week ago?
It was a week ago.
And, she's in my Rise program, and I don't even necessarily know what the session was for because you ended up just sharing your story and how good that you're doing. But regardless, we were doing a session, and all of a sudden you start sharing this amazing story. And I was like, wait a second, like the world needs to hear this. I mean, I told Jennifer I think she needs to go into like public speaking and even like be a comedian because you're so funny. And like, and I was just sitting there, I was like, oh my gosh, like this would encourage so many people because a lot of the things that you went through, so many people have to go through that as well. And so I asked her if she would jump on here and kind of try to recapture the story that she told me, just to encourage people and let you know that there is hope. And she started out at a real like, oh, I'm thinking back on it, like my heart just wrenches thinking of just how bad of a spot that you were in. So let's just kind of start with that. Let's go back to the beginning whenever you were experiencing symptoms and you were trying all these things. Like, I don't remember exactly what you said first as far as what things that you were trying, but just kind of capture how you felt, the fear that you have, and then start listing some of the things that you were trying. And if you forget any of them, I did take some notes.
For sure. Well, I mean, it all started with a panic attack. I had a baby, had a lot of complications during the birth. Not saying that that's exactly what caused it. I mean, I don't really know, and I really, at this point, I really don't care what caused it, because that's not really the important part for me anymore. But I felt like it was after a panic attack that I started feeling really odd. Just just the symptoms just started coming after the panic attack. And I did my usual thing, which I would always do, was just like go take a walk, go get in a cold shower. And I noticed that they weren't going away. So I was like really confused. I was like, this is normally what works for, when I have a panic attack or when I have anxiety, and these weird symptoms are not going away. So as the time passed, of course the symptoms started getting worse and worse. And I feel like the symptoms started getting worse because I started fearing the symptoms so much. I started like just wondering like what was going on. And so the first few weeks were like, it was like hours of symptoms and then like hours with no symptoms. And that would like throw me off. Like, you don't have no idea. I used to work at Stanford at the pain clinic at that time. So a lot of like what I would do there was like surgery scheduling. So it was like a lot of admin work. So I couldn't concentrate. It's like my brain all of a sudden just, somebody had like disconnected my brain, and I couldn't I couldn't think, I couldn't concentrate. Like I just literally felt so disconnected to the world, and I didn't know what was going on. I would call those hotlines, that I would always, I would see those sometimes on the internet, like, oh, if you feel like you're gonna harm yourself, or if you feel like you need to talk to somebody, like call this. And I would find myself in my car hours just sitting there and having a coworker cover for me because I didn't want to lose my job. So I would sit there and just like not know what was going on and just sit there like just mortified, like just sit there in so much fear. And I would call these numbers, and I remember talking to these women, and it was like more like for the postpartum women, like for after they gave birth. And I would talk to them, and yeah, it was nice to talk to somebody because they were really nice and they were really sweet. But even them, I would try to tell them my symptoms just because I wanted to tell somebody. I wanted to see if anybody was experiencing something similar to what I was going through. And I would talk to these girls, and they would just say stuff like, oh, don't worry, sweetie. Like these symptoms are gonna go away. Like I'm sure it's just depression. You're overwhelmed, and you have all these thoughts, and but it's okay. A lot of women go through this, and you're gonna be just fine. Give it a few. And I would tell them like, what do you think? Like 2 or 3 weeks, and they would just sit there and be nice about it. But that's it. Then I would go back to work, sit there on my desk, and just can I would look at the screen, but nothing made sense. Like just nothing made sense in my life. Like just everything was weird. And I got to the point where I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I called my sister, and my sister, she thought like the best thing to do was to go to the hospital. She's like, we need to go to the hospital. And, you know, she's like, Stanford is like one of the best hospitals in the world. People fly from all over the country to this hospital. So I know that they're going to be able to help you there. And I was feeling really hopeful because I was thinking like, well, yeah, like this is supposed to be one of the best hospitals in the world. And I know, I mean, they have the best university as well for the students. I was like, they're gonna help me. So when I got there, they asked me a bunch of questions, nothing like relatable to what I was actually going through, but I was going along with it because I wanted to help. So I got to the hospital. And honestly, like when I started talking to these people that were there hospitalized, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing here? Like, are these people really gonna help me? Like, they would send me to these classes twice a day, and I would sit there in these classes and just think like, what does this have to do with anything that I'm feeling? They would ask me questions about like, how to. I'm sorry, my son's crying. Just can I have a moment?
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Actually, my auntie already took him.
Okay. Okay.
They would ask me stuff like, what would you do if a relative um, stole some money from you when you were letting these people stay in your house, and how would you react? And I would think to myself like, bro, I'm, I'm telling you that I think I have brain damage. How is this gonna help me, ma'am? but I would go along with it because I would think like, okay, well, this is, they must know, right? This is Stanford. So they're, this must be somehow part of it. Um, so then I would have like these little one-on-ones with the psychiatrist, and I would tell her, this is what's going on. I feel disconnected. I feel like my personality has been altered. I feel like I can no longer think. Um, Everything is blurry. When I think of something, or I'm trying to have a memory, I can't connect my emotions to these memories. And it feels really bizarre to me. Like I don't understand what is going on. And so the psychiatrist would just like literally just stare at me and just kind of nod and just tell me like, yeah, it sounds like you have a lot of stress. I mean, sounds like you have a lot going on at home, and you have two little babies at home, and you have a husband. And I would think like, yeah, sure, but I've been having this all my life too. I've always had kids. I've always had a husband. I've always had a very stressful life, and it didn't mean that I felt like this. So can you help me? Like, can you tell me what's going on? And she would just be like, I think you would really benefit from some SSRIs. And I would think like, okay, that's for anxiety and for depression. And I'm telling you that I don't feel anxious and I'm not feeling depressed. So how is this gonna help me? So then a nurse came in and she put some posters for me because I didn't want to take the medication. I was the only one that kept refusing medication. And I just kept thinking, I want to try a more natural approach, and I'll try the therapy first, and I'll try going to outside to the little garden area. I'll try that first before I take the medication. So the nurse showed me like this thing, like this quote from Einstein. She said, you know what insanity means? I was like, no. I was like, well, yeah, but what am I gonna say with that? She's like, insanity means when you try the same thing repeatedly and expect. So then I was like, so she
Sorry, you
made me.
broke up a little. Is somebody texting you?
They were calling me, so I forwarded the call.
Oh, no, okay, but it interrupted. Could you repeat the last maybe 10 seconds?
Sure. So there was this one particular nurse. She was very nice. I by all means, I know this woman was trying to like, because she saw how much I was suffering. I would just, cry and cry for hours because I felt so desperate, and she knew I didn't want to take the medication. So she went in there and she said, you know what insanity means? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, yeah. What are you trying to tell me? And she's like, well, insanity means like doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different outcome. And so when she said that, she got in my head. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, you know what? You're right. You know what? I do need to try this medication because I haven't tried it. And maybe you're right. Maybe everybody's right. Maybe I am tripping. Maybe I do need medication. And so I came back and there was a whole bunch of posters of like different quotes of Einstein, and she, and I kept looking at these things and still nothing making sense, right? But I was like, fine. She even stayed in the room like an hour with me. I was like, I'm scared of the medication. I feel like if I take the medication, it's gonna make me go crazy, and I'm gonna react some certain way. And she's like, no, I'm gonna stay here with you a whole hour and to see how do you react to the medication. I said, okay, fine. So I took the medication, and I just started feeling drowsy. I just remember feeling drowsy, but still feeling the same. So I was like, what the? I was like, okay, sure. And then she was like, you have to take it for a week and maybe a second week till you actually see any difference. So then here I am, and I'm going to these little classes. And mind you, like, I don't know if this is going to be inappropriate what I'm going to say, but, mind you, like, here I am sitting with these people that have maybe more issues than me, like people that you probably don't want to have conversations with, like, that they say some pretty crazy stuff. And here I am sitting thinking, like, what am I doing here? Like, um, because the crazy part about these symptoms is that, yeah, your symptoms are very horrible, but what you need to remind yourself is that you're not crazy. You're not actually crazy. You're actually very aware. I think too aware, to where, you think like, you think you're going nuts, you think you're going crazy, but no, you're actually very aware. And honestly, I think that like smart people are the ones that go through these kind of symptoms. I think like critical thinkers are the ones that actually experience these things. So
Mhm.
sitting there having conversations with these people, like, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with these people, but other people have other issues than you, more profound issues, I would say. And thinking like, man, like, do I really have to do this? But I'm here again pushing. Then comes the therapist. the one-on-ones with the therapist, right? And I'm telling her like all my crazy symptoms and how terrible and how horrible I feel. And she's just looking at me and she's like, try this squishy ball. And I'm like, okay. I was like, try this squishy ball, and this squishy ball is gonna take these symptoms away. Like they're gonna make me better. And I'm
I
like, look
forgot about the squishy ball. I forgot that part of the story.
straight in her eyes, like a squishy ball. Like I just told you, like how I feel like I have brain damage, and I feel like reality has been altered. I told you that like I feel weird, like that I feel numb, that I feel disconnected, that the world as I knew is no longer the world that I used to know. And you're telling me to squish a squishy ball to just okay. And so I'm just looking at it,
That's the cure. I'm gonna get into the squishy ball business.
and in my mind I punched her, in the face. Just kidding. But not really. These people I know that they know, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
bash
Yeah,
the
for sure.
but you feel desperate and you feel very, very like not heard. You feel like, whoa, I told you something very crazy and very profound to me, and you're telling me to just squish it out. And then I was like, when she noticed that I wasn't happy with the squishy ball, so then she brings this big old box of like all these scents of lavender, um, I don't know, all these herbs, like, and I'm looking at her like, really? When she told me that she was gonna give me something else, I was like, this must be better, Uh,
Anything but the squishy ball.
and I took the squishy ball to my room, and I remember just looking at the room, just squishing away. Bro, this is not gonna. I,
I told you you got to be a comedian. But go ahead, go ahead. You're so
I'm thinking
funny.
squishy ball wasn't gonna cut it. I knew that lavender was not gonna cut it, and here I am, like opening my little jar that she gave me, like, and putting it down, and going to the squishy ball, and smelling this. And I already knew, like I didn't know at this point, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't even know about this stuff, but I knew that the squishy ball in the scent was not gonna cut it. And I was looking at my little posters that this woman had, and now at this point I'm taking the medication, and I was like, you know what, I'm done here. I already knew that. I talked to all the psychiatrists there that were, because I kept wanting to talk to different people, because I was thinking, okay, well, maybe she'll know, maybe he'll know, maybe, like just
Right.
talk to everyone. After I talked to everyone, I knew it was time to go. And then I would go on the bike and run really, really, really fast, because they had like little bikes there. And I would run really, really, really fast on the bike, and thinking like, maybe if I run my way there, then this will help. And I would go and shower with cold water. I would just do everything. And once I talked to everyone there, I was there for like a week. I knew it was time to go home. I was like, okay, it's time to go home. Sadly, this is not helping, and but at least I tried. So I left Stanford, and then I came home, and I talked to my husband, and I looked at him, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I looked at him, and I said, you know what, I'm not well. And he's just looking at me like really confused, like, Jenny. Sometimes he would be scared because I would tell him like, dude, I think I'm losing my mind. Like, I think this is it. I think I went crazy. I don't think I'm going back to my normal self ever again. This is what it is. And but damn, like, what can I tell you? I think that I'm gonna leave the country, because I don't think that, you can't take care of the kids. You're at work all the time. At least maybe, if your family helps me out in El Salvador. So we bought a home in El Salvador, and I left. I left to El Salvador, like I hired a nanny. And so the nanny would stay home with the kids. And my whole thing was, maybe if I leave the country, maybe, yeah, everybody says that this country is too stressful. Maybe if I just leave the country, I'll start to get better. I can go take walks on the beach, which I did. Maybe if I go for long drives, maybe, which I did, I would drive for hours. Literally, that would be like my hobby, because I feel like that was my escape. Every time I would go drive, I would drive in the jungle. So then I came back, and I came across your videos and a bunch of other videos, because one book that I read kind of gave me the idea of a little bit of what was going on. So based on that, that's when I started digging on YouTube. And that's when I
Mm.
found you. And I found you because you were interviewing a girl that had recovered fully. And I was like, I was like, could it really be that I can recover too? I mean, I started listening to her symptoms and I started listening the way you were describing these symptoms. And I was like, yeah, 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 that's it. Yeah, like that's how I feel. And, so I was like feeling really pumped. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can try this. And well, I reached out to you. I got to talk to you. And honestly, like that first conversation that I had with you, Jordan, that one first conversation I had with you, I just knew like something in my heart, like just told me this man is going to help me. This man knows what he's talking about. If he had not gone through this himself, if he did not know what he was talking about, there's no way in hell he knows my every symptom. Like, there's no way that literally, like, nothing that was like, nothing that I have experienced, you were missing on your videos. Like, everything was there. Like, every single thing was there. And when I noticed that that was there, I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. And even then, the very first couple months, I was like having doubts because I didn't want to practice anything that you were saying. So if I hear, by um, listening to you saying it over and over, maybe somehow it was gonna work on my body, But then I started to get again, I started to get a little disappointed because I was like, well, 2 months have passed by and I felt like it was getting better, better, better because the way you explain your videos, like on the rise, or what is it?
Yeah, Rice. Yeah.
All the videos there, um, I was like, it is getting better because the way you explain things, it's on another level. Just knowing what is going on, the mechanics of, I mean, just understanding like the symptoms and why they're there and how does it happen and why, and just knowing that, even just listening to that makes you get feel better and makes your symptoms decrease. So yeah, it was really amazing. But then it's like I hit a plateau. Like, I wasn't getting any better, but I wasn't practicing anything that you were teaching us. I really wasn't. The next step is for me to start incorporating everything that he's teaching on the videos. Everything that Jordan is saying, I need to apply it to my life. I didn't think it was gonna work. And I started laughing. I was like, you know what? That's exactly why I haven't done it. I was like, because I just kept thinking, like, how can my body, why, like, how can my body cure it? Like, if it's up here, why, what does my body have to do with anything? That's what I thought. I was like, okay, then that's what you need to do. And so I started practicing it. I started practicing everything that you taught in the videos. Um, I mean, I have my days where I'm super, super busy and I forget, but as soon as I remember, I'm back at it again. I'm practicing what I need to do. I'm doing basically everything that I can think of. And I do a little combination sometimes, but that's how I do it. And I want to say after the first week of actually applying everything, oh my gosh, literally after the first week, I started seeing major, major changes in my brain, like in my mind, in the way I thought, in the way I started thinking, and just a decrease on the symptoms. It was insane, and I hardly ever feel like those sad days anymore where I felt like hopeless. That doesn't happen actually anymore. Now that I think about it, that doesn't happen anymore. I don't ever feel hopeless. I do experience a little bit of the symptoms here and there,
Hmm.
but nothing to where it's like so uncomfortable or unbearable anymore. And I know that the more that I implement this, the more that it's going to get better. And I know that it's almost there. I feel it. It's like I tell myself, like, it's like, the little train. I know I can. I know I can. The little,
Yeah,
little,
I think I can. Yeah, yeah.
every time I feel a little, even a little tiny discouraged, I'm like, nope, like I'm just going. Or like the little Dory, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That's all.
That's right. Good old Dory. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Oh, that's awesome. And you had mentioned, you can think now. So tell
Oh,
me about that.
it's freaking awesome. I mean, I'm in the medical field myself, so I'm actually wearing my scrubs right now, but
Oh,
I'm in the medical field. So, and I work at an oncology clinic. So it is crucial for me to be, on point because I can't miss anything. People's lives are literally in our hands. And so, it's just so amazing because this is a new job that I started. And I started this job after I started taking the program. After I started the program, because that's when I started feeling like I could work again. I forgot to mention that part. If it wouldn't have been for your program, I don't think I would still be at work. I don't think I would be at work still. I think I would still be like, somewhere in a corner, still thinking like, how, like, when is this gonna get better? But so I haven't been there that long. So there, I'm still in training. So my focus is very important, and I noticed that I can remember like so many things now. I'm like, what? Like before, I couldn't remember what I said 5 minutes ago, and now it's like when I do vitals, and I don't even have to look at the vital machine twice. Like before, I had to like look and look and look, like every time. And now it's like I take the vitals, like I'm like, okay, yeah, heart rate, blood pressure was this much, and it's just like I can. Even the provider was like, hey, your memory is really good, and I was like, if you only knew, because obviously, like, but
Oh,
it's like I only been there for 2 months. I haven't been past the probation period, but the providers are so happy with me. Like the providers are just like, hey, this Jenny girl, like we want to keep her. And it's funny because they even gave me like a really nice gift. It was a very, very generous gift because they want me to stay. And I feel
oh,
good because because I can use my brain again because I know I'm a smart girl. I know that I can accomplish so much. And and to know that this you do recover and you do get better and your brain works again and your mental sharpness comes again, your memory comes back, everything comes back, and you do get better.
oh, ah, my heart is so happy hearing this. I mean, and that's that's one reason why I really wanted you to share your story is just the contrast is so like wide. I mean, literally going to a different country, driving for hours and hours, crying, going to the best mental health people at Stanford, feeling like you're hopeless, all this stuff, to being able to come back home, work a job that you enjoy, and be able to think again and actually enjoy it. I mean, what a beautiful story. Oh, I like I can't tell you.
Well, out here, to just know works, it really works, and you do get better. You really do. Because I know like the number one thought I think that a lot of us go through, like that runs through your mind is this is forever. Um, there's no way out. I'm not coming out of this. You do come out of it and you do recover fully.
Yes, and thank you so much for encouraging people with that. And it's like I tell people that, but it's like I like to have other people say it, especially who are just freshly going through this and coming out of it. Because it's one thing if I said it, that I'm over this and I went through it years and years ago, but to have somebody, share to such detail that you did, that I think a lot of people are going to relate with, and for you to say that you can come out of this after everything you went through, like that's a whole nother level. Like, that's just oh my gosh. And so what has your husband thought about all this? Is he pretty happy to see you
Yeah,
back
he's
to
really
normal?
happy. He tells me, glad you were able to find, the help that you needed and that you found this dude from across the country because I'm in California, and it shows you it doesn't matter, like what part of the world you can be. Um, you can help them, Jordan. And I honestly like I'm just so grateful. I'm just so thankful. I'm just so, I'm so glad that there's people like you out there doing these things because honestly the world needs more people like you. And I hope that, you're I don't know, like I just hope more people see you. Like I just hope more people that are going through this because what sucks is that a lot of these people that are suffering like right now as we're speaking, they don't know that this is something that can be fixed. They don't even know what is going on. They don't even know where to search. They don't even know where to look for help. And I just really hope that your videos get spread even more. People share them. It's funny because I share your videos all the time. I share them just because if somebody gets to see it and even if I don't get to know because I'll share them on my Facebook or I'll share them wherever, and if somebody can see this that's suffering in silence, because I'm very vocal, like I can express myself very well, like I'm not shy at all. I will say it like it is and I'll say exactly what's on my mind, but there's a lot of people that can't do that. There's a lot of people that are like embarrassed, that they'll think that they're scared that people are going to think that they're crazy, or that they'll, that there's something seriously wrong with them. But if they can see a video just that I share and maybe it can help them, then that's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah. So many people suffer in silence, and we need people to be a mouthpiece for them. And that was really the whole reason why I even started doing this. Um, was because whenever I was suffering, I watched YouTube video after YouTube video, went to forum after forum, and I saw people that were like sheep without a shepherd. And I had actually just gone through Bible school. I was formally trained as a pastor of a church, and I was gonna kind of start my own church or whatever. But then I felt like God was like, you know what? I'm gonna have you shepherd a different flock than you thought. And just the amazingness of being able to shepherd and help people from all around the world. I mean, like, I reach people all the time that had I gone the path of being a local church pastor, I never would have been able to reach them. I never would have reached you, right? And so I'm just so thankful for that. And going back, what I was saying is I was just so convinced that I wasn't going to overcome my symptoms. And I remember the fence I was walking by whenever I said it out loud. I was like, I'm never going to beat this. And you know how like you try to keep yourself from saying certain things because once you say it, it like makes it official or whatever. And I remember whenever I said that, I just felt so terrible. But, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe my dad, gave me and my brothers a lot of work ethic and not quitting and stuff. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going. And I was trying anything and everything just like you were. And whenever I finally landed on some stuff, namely the body-based stuff that actually started to get me results, I was like, wow, I'm actually getting out of this. And then I remembered the commitment that I had made that if I can ever get out of this, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping other people. And then I was like, okay, I have to pay it forward. And so I did a little iPhone video uh and put it on YouTube. And little did I know people from all around the world would watch that. And then, now I've been doing this 5 years, and it still baffles me that I'm able to do this. But the need has not changed in 5 years for help. In fact, I think it's only amplified, especially post COVID and all the effects of the lockdowns and just the fear that came from COVID. And people lost loved ones or were afraid they were going to die or they were going to lose loved ones. I think that there's more traumatized and dissociated people than ever before, honestly. But like you said, so many of them don't even know how to describe what they're going through. And they go to doctor after doctor, therapist after therapist, or they look online and they just don't even know what to say or what to search for. And so, one thing that I'm working on now is just trying to put out as much descriptions of symptoms as I can, hoping that it'll resonate with people. But stories like yours, though, I'm telling you, it's just such a blessing. And so anyway, this is, we were laughing before I clicked record. She was like, if it even helps one person, and I said, I think it'll help just two people. No more than two, though. Just two people, that's it. Nobody else. No, this is going to help thousands of people. It really, really will. And you're so good at telling your story. Oh my gosh. I told a story the other day and I was like, that was the worst story. Like, it was actually a great story, but I totally ruined it. I'm not a storyteller. So, like, I've done a lot of these interviews and you didn't have to think, you didn't have to pause. You were just like, and just told everything. And you even gave more juicy details. I want to clarify one detail. So you literally bought, I didn't know this. I don't know if you told me this on the original call. So you bought a house in Venezuela. Like you were literally planning on just living in a different country.
And El Salvador, yes, El Salvador. So, and so now it's so funny because it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna live in that house. So what do I do with this house now? And so I'm actually next month I'm going out there because I'm starting an Airbnb in El Salvador. So depending on how well that one goes, and I might just buy another one out there because it's El Salvador. I don't know if you ever heard of El Salvador, but it used to be a very dangerous country. Now they've been having a really good, awesome president, and it's business is good over there. So I'm like I'm back to normal. I'm back to like that Jennifer that likes to invest, that likes to like I'm just very like goal orientated, and I'm just so, like, I'm so driven, and just you know feeling that this is coming back. and like the normal Jenny's coming back is just so awesome. And you don't understand. Like, I just want to do it all.
Well, see, that's what it's all about. I mean, that's post-traumatic growth. That's what I tell people. I mean, you can go from your darkest hour to your greatest victory if you respond the right way and have the help that you need. But it does take a lot of help. This recovery path is very nuanced. There's a lot of nuance that unless you've been through it, you're just not going to get it. That's why even the best people at Stanford, which I know we were kind of laughing at the squishy ball thing, but as you said, these people are good people that are doing what they've been trained to do, and they were trying to help you, and that's great. But whenever it comes to complex trauma and depersonalization, realization, and a lot of these symptoms that you were going through, like if you've never been through it, I just don't see a whole lot of people that can help somebody navigate through that recovery path because it's just, we know from major studies that 45% of recovery is co-regulation. So that's the person that's helping you, their ability to build hope in you, and also therapeutic relationships, so a healing relationship. And it's like, in their defense, these people that are good people, how can you create hope in somebody whenever you can't even explain the symptoms to somebody or you've never even heard of them, right? That's just like if your marriage is falling apart, you're going to somebody that's never even heard of somebody having marriage issues before. And you know what I'm saying? It's like, I know that's not a perfect example, but it's like, how are you going to have hope? But if you go to somebody who had their own marriage issues, their marriage was falling apart, but then they saved their marriage and they've been helping couples all around the world for years and years restore their marriage, all of a sudden, hope is restored. And so that's a big part of what we do is we just literally, me and my team, we just share our story and we continually build hope in people because trauma fractures hope, right? It gives you this irrational fear that you're hopeless. And I'm telling you, you want to see the worst of a human being, just take hope away from them, right? That's whenever you go to a really dark night of the soul. But whenever, like, what I've realized is it doesn't even necessarily take a lot of hope for people. You just need enough hope to move forward, right? Trauma keeps you frozen, it keeps you stuck. But if you have enough hope to get up and you've got some support, some guidance, and you start to use your body instead of trying to beat it with your mind, oh my goodness. It's a very, very potent combination. And
And I mean,
so,
also, Jordan, like, I also want to mention that it doesn't help that whenever they do talk to you, and I think this is like the hardest part for me, going through these symptoms, is that before I came across your videos, um, a lot of it is them telling you that they're going to teach you how to cope. And I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I don't want to cope with this. I want to recover. I want to get better. I do not want to cope. I don't care what you say. And I think that's something that really helped me push and really find an answer, is because I don't want to cope. I never want to cope with this. I want to recover. So I wasn't getting the answer that I wanted. And I'm glad I did that, because that's what made me want to push harder and harder and find answers. Because I said, no, there has to be a way for you to be able to recover. If you weren't like this before, then you weren't born like this. So then why do you have to cope with this? There has to be a way where you can fully recover. And I feel that's when a lot of like the hopeless comes in too, because you start feeling very hopeless. Like, what do you mean I'm gonna just cope with this? I don't want to cope. I want to recover. So, I just felt like that part was really suckish. And I think like a lot of us that read, and even in the comments, don't read the comments because the comments are like the worst. You hear like some people are just so negative.
yeah.
Somebody will say something, this was an awesome video, like, there's hope out there and blah blah blah. And then somebody will be like, just forget it. I've been like this for 15 years. There ain't no hope.
Yeah.
And then that's
And they're speaking from their suffering, and there's something about whenever you're in a really bad place, it's just you kind of want, you have this like desire to kind of almost retaliate. It's almost like an anger comes out because you're so frustrated that it's like, if I'm going to be miserable, that means nobody else is going to be able to get out of this either. And so, I don't judge those people, and I know you're not either, but it's definitely not advantageous to look to the comments because it's kind of hit or miss, right? Like some people, like you said, it's going to be great. other people, it's going to be very discouraging. And so it's almost like restaurant reviews.
Yeah.
Like some of my favorite restaurants have the worst reviews. And I'm like, wait, what is this? Well, because happy customers don't leave reviews. It's always the angry customers that leave restaurant reviews. So the people that are recovered and living their life, they're not on some, DPDR subreddit. They're not on YouTube commenting, they're out living their life. But to speak to what you said though, so I've gone through a number of kind of trauma certifications over the years, and I'm not obviously going to say the name of it, but I went through one that was really amazing actually. But they had like this doctor who is specialized in, I think, like brain damage or something like that, that was there and was just kind of like not like leading the sessions or whatever, the training sessions, but she was there as like an expert or something, just like a mentee or something. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But I remember I was asking some questions and saying some things, and this person said, what you need to be focusing on is really helping your clients with symptom management. That's really, the best that they're going to be able to do is just symptom management. And I'm like you, like I've never been afraid to just say the truth, but I've learned over the years how to say it a little bit more eloquently. But I said, with all due respect, I've spent the last 5 years of my life seeing people become permanently symptom free, and I'm one of them. I went from extreme complex trauma and panic attacks and DPDR and emotional numbness and irrational fears and you name it. I probably had it, to now it's all gone. All of it, right? Like I don't even really stress anymore. And I say that humbly, but like I literally just don't stress out about stuff. So what you're saying is not only not true, but I said it compromises hope, which is the most potent thing that you guys teach health people. These people even teach that. And I'm like, if you begin this person's healing journey by telling them that the best that they can do is cope, what the heck is that? I recently, just because I like to stay educated on stuff, I bought like this OCD program just because I like to hear what people have to say. One of the top OCD people out there, I'm not going to tell you who it is, but they've got a very large following online. I say this humbly, but it was some of the most general information that I've ever heard. And not only that, but this person started out at the beginning saying that the best you're ever going to be able to do is cope. And I'm like, how can you tell these people that? Like, I don't believe it. I think that there are plenty of studies that would say otherwise. So, anecdotally, and also from a scientific study perspective, I believe that you can heal. One of my favorite quotes ever is from Dr. Peter A. Levine. And although I don't subscribe to his methodology, I work with complex trauma. But he says human beings are born with an innate capacity to triumph over trauma. Like you were born with this ability to triumph over this. The problem is you're doing things that you need to stop doing that are conveying threat to the nervous system. And then there's things that you're not doing that you need to start doing that will convey safety to the nervous system, which is self-regulation and co-regulation. And all that you did, Jennifer, is you started to do first it was just co-regulation, and that got you a lot of results. But then we added in self-regulation, which is changing what's happening in your body. And then bada bing, bada bang, you're turning your old house into a Airbnb, you're back working. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, I actually began telling people like, hey, you can get out of this. And not only can you not just get back to your old self, but you can grow from this. That's post-traumatic growth. That's what you're experiencing. That's like, this isn't me making this up. You're literally living proof of post-traumatic growth. You're gonna walk away even stronger than you were before. Any final words that you would say to people who are watching this video and they're really, really struggling?
The only thing that I can say is that there is hope, a lot of hope. Your program really works. But yeah, go with him because he really works and you're not going to regret it and you will heal. and you will go back to your normal self if you implement everything that he says. Don't be like me and wait till 2, 3 months to actually implement it. Do it from the beginning, and you will even heal faster than me.